What's up?
Yes, Mr. Senator.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Yes.
All right. Nice to see you. Please sit down.
He's very chairman and CEO, doesn't speak English. So yes, somebody has to come with him to explain all this to him. The energy mix is changing drastically. In the next 10 years, everything you know today about energy, whether to power for industrial output, for moving your vehicles and all that, will change completely to what they call hydrogen, green hydrogen. What is green hydrogen? Green hydrogen is when you break up water is made of 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen. When you break them, the power that holds them together liberates energy that is stored in the hydrogen. So this energy is potent, is about 200 times more potent than the fossil fuel that we use today. So engineers have discovered this, and so nations are putting together a plan of transiting from the hydrocarbons to the green hydrogen. Why is it green? Why is this particular energy, hydrogen, called green? What makes it green? It's green because the energy you need. No, the senator has to go. So the energy you need to break this bond between hydrogen and oxygen, it takes a lot of energy. So when the energy is renewable, when you use renewable energy to break the bond between hydrogen and oxygen, then the hydrogen you liberate becomes green because the energy used to break it is renewable. And so what this company does is that this company has perfected the technology of breaking this bond between hydrogen and oxygen. They do it cheaper than any other person in the industry globally. They produce this energy, and then this energy is now stored and used to power the plants. You know, the world is facing, Africa has a very big challenge in the future if we're not careful with solar energy. Because solar energy requires storage, so you need to store it. But nobody has thought about that storage, the material, that battery that you use to store the energy. What happens to it? What happens when the lifespan expires? It becomes very toxic. It becomes a very dangerous thing, very offensive to the environment. I've spoken about this in different parts of the world to say, look, you have to, Africans, you want to kill the African people because solar energy is good for us, but how about that storage that is needed to store the energy in the daytime so we can use it at night? What this solution does is that it uses solar energy as a primary source to break up the catalytic bond between hydrogen and oxygen and release the hydrogen. So the hydrogen becomes your fuel, becomes the same thing with diesel, petrol, kerosene, and all that. So you can call this like the refinery of the future. A refinery where actually you're refining water. Senators, are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes.
You are refining water, breaking it up, taking the hydrogen from there. So that is the refinery of the future. And so what that does to an economy is that you use solar energy to produce energy from water, and then what comes out of it becomes the fuel that will power your industrial growth. South Korea has set up a timeline for their own transition. The Chinese have done that. The Europeans are running, to do theirs. Each country is trying to set up their timelines. Now, Nigeria has a very big chance to become the energy hub of the new paradigm. That is renewable energy, green hydrogen, if only we can get it right. And it's not rocket science because some countries are already doing it. Oman today is building one of the most modern green hydrogen energy hub. And that puts that country ahead of Saudi Arabia as the energy center of the Middle East. And I'm going to share the information with the Senate as well. And so what we try to do here is to locate in Nigeria the hub for this new energy paradigm of the world, to locate it in Nigeria. And why am I here? I'm here because the Korean company that leads in the industry has the support of their government, because the governments all over the world support their companies that have technologies or products or services that are competitive, that they can support to go into the global marketplace, to raise the banner of that country globally. And so they will have the support of an agency of the government called EDC that supports their industries to go abroad. And for us to attract this very thing to Nigeria, the Nigerian government has to be a part of it, has to take equity in this hub, so that by the time the Korean government comes in, it becomes government to government. And then this is the necessary condition. And so we're here to present this to the Senate and also to the Minister for Power and also to the Rural Electrification Agency and begin a conversation as to begin to understand how this works and what's expected of parties, and then we can take it from there. So in a nutshell, this is why we're here. If anybody has any questions, that'll be fine. Then otherwise, he'll go ahead and make his presentations, and then he can ask your questions afterwards or before he starts. This is just a nutshell what it is.
I do not think that we have any time to do the technical details here. I'm very glad that you're able to tell us that what we are here for is to speak with the Senate, Committee on Power, and the Ministry of Power. Essentially, what you're doing is telling us that there's a new technology where we're moving to, where the rest of the world will move to. Breaking up water into oxygen and hydrogen. I don't think that that's anything new. I mean, they have hydrogen bombs. That's where it came from, this breakup of this. Well, steam engines is when you turn water into, but essentially, what we are actually interested in as a country is this. At the moment, what we have is a need for power, at least in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 megawatts of power. The generating stations in Nigeria are able to do up to 13 megawatts, but because transmission is not working very well and distribution is not working well, they can't wheel it even. So they do between 4 and 5 megawatts of power, and we are stuck there. So for us, the most critical thing is how do we break this bond so that everybody who needs power gets, not how to bring in new energy. Not that we don't want the new energy, but assuming we build a plant today using your technology, and that power cannot be moved from where you're doing it to those who will need it, what do you do? So we want to be very practical in the things that we want to do. As much as we want to see and know where we want to go, where the rest of the world is going, the basic infrastructure of power, which we are supposed to use to make every man, woman, and child in Nigeria get power at their fingertips of turning a switch. is where we are finding difficult to. So, is there any way with your new technology that you will be able to help bridge this gap? Because if you don't do it, we will all this that you're saying, we will just continue to see it as just one of those things. The solar power option, which is being done in some parts of the country now, tries to, break this logjam that we have. So you can have isolated solar power in different areas, and everybody will have power. That's just essentially the thing. So that normal grid connection that you have in almost every country, we don't have it. So we have a situation where any little thing that happens in one part, then the rest of the country will be in darkness because you can't move. And so we feel that the first order of business should be to deal with this, except you tell us that, well, these are also mobile units that can be used just like solar. Then we will say that maybe it will help us to, bridge the gap of transmission and distribution that we have. I hope I'm making myself very clear, because the rest of us here, we don't want to engage in small talk or just talk for talk's sake. We think that we are here for very, very serious.
Distribution mode is the same thing. We can generate it and put it on the national grid. It goes to the same part. In that case, we sell to the what do they call them now? Infracos or what do they call them? Discos. We can sell to them. That's not a problem. We can also break it down. I think his presentation will show that. Yes. Yes, exactly. The breakdown will be much more faster and a lot easier. That's what they're doing in South Korea now, because the grids are collapsing the same way it happens here. Grids are collapsing in America and other places. So the way forward for the world is upgrade. Independent, isolated power off the grid. That's the future. So this is where we are. So we can do both. So do you get what I'm saying? So it's not about distribution. I didn't go to distribution because it's all the same thing, everyone. But I was just explaining the source of this power, not the distribution, the same distribution.
는 육상뿐만이 아니고 수상에도 태양광 발전소를 많이 하고 있는 회사입니다.
BK Energy is providing not only on-land service, but also on the sea or river or reservoir solar power system.
나이지리아처럼 그 기온이 높은 나라는 온도가 많이 올라갈 때 태양광 발전을 많이 못합니다. 그래서 저수지나 댐, 바다에다 이렇게 태양광을 해도 오히려 효율이 더 좋습니다.
The country like Nigeria has a defect, just like the temperature of this country is very high. The efficiency of solar power system is very, very low. So when we apply this new device designed to Nigeria, the country like Nigeria, the efficiency and effectiveness will be higher.
또 기후 변화로 인해서 기후가 많이 올라가면서 저수지나 댐에 물이 많이 말라 있습니다.
Because of this climate change, the temperature of sea and ambient temperature is very high. So the operation condition is very severe.
저수지나 댐에 수상 태양광을 설치하면 먹는 물이라든가 농업용수를 오히려 그 증발을 억제하는 그런 효과들을 가지고 있습니다.
when we install this solar system in reservoir or river, it can increase the efficiency, and we can see the evaporation effect will be higher.
그래서 이제 거기 그러면서 이제 우리 수상 태양광은 현재는 그 태양광 그러면 경관을 파괴하는다고 생각하는데 저희는 오히려 그 지역의 문화와 역사를 태양광을 통해서 표출하는 발전소를 만들고 있습니다. 문화 관광형 이런 모양으로 디자인을 이렇게 해서
Our new design solar power system enlarges this application area so widely.
또 태양광은 요즘 들어서 아프리카처럼 이렇게 기온이 높은 데는 태양광을 설치해 놓고 나면 곤충이 3배 더 잘 자라고 농사도 지을 수 있는 또 염소를 키울 수 있는 이런 어떤 영농형 태양광도 저희가 좋은 기술을 가지고 있습니다.
Our new design solar system will increase number of insects, like it will help the ecosystem, and the product of the crops will be increased.
After going to put everything and distribute.
I think you have it in the paper.
Yes, we're going to share.
Yeah, later
so
we
you
will.
send us the paper so
Yes.
that we give everybody.
Yes, we're going to share that.
Just
Yes.
tell him to go direct to.
Yes, go to this. Let me just help him. You see, the main part of this whole can be off the grid.
And
On grid. We can be on grid or off grid. But the most interesting part is the off grid credential of this system. Yes. That we can take to communities, rural communities, industrial zones, different parts. As many grids as possible.
Okay.
And, yes, and the main thing is that this whole thing will be built in Nigeria. Nigerians will be trained in South Korea. And the things we need will...
Okay, you're going to now set up the...
Yes, that's the idea.
Here.
In Nigeria, that's why we're building energy hub.
Okay.
I'm going to share with you what they're doing is in Oman. The same thing, the same kind of situation we're sitting here. It's a new energy paradigm, completely different from what you have known before this time. It has its own ecosystem, and more importantly, the human resource needed to do this. So the hub will be a work, live, and play, where the resource that would drive the industry will live, and where the ecosystem that they need in order to survive. You know, people with talents, they need places that reflect their creativity and drive. So that is provided for them, and they're highly paid, and Nigeria provides an environment for them to spend the money they're earning. So a Nigerian government, because Nigerian government has to be a part of this business, and so Nigerian government can say, look, we want 80% of the workforce to be Nigerians. I'll be the one to lead that delegation to South Korea. Because
so what about when you go beyond where people live?
No, it take it.
Movement?
No, it's like building.
Do you have it for vehicles? Do you have
Yes.
it for solar?
A skid kind of thing.
Solar
Yes,
power, battery power,
definitely.
all these
In all forms and shapes and sizes. Just the same kind of generating thing you have now, but the difference is that this is using a different source of energy to energize it. Here is green hydrogen. And that's what he was talking about, high temperatures in this country. And this company has a special way of generating energy from the sun to do the hydrolysis. And they put panels on top of water because land is scarce. And so why wasting land to put large amount of solar panels? What do you do with that? So their design specifically is to put these systems on top of water so that because the temperature is higher So it results to a more efficient. So I think what will happen is, let him share what he has, and then yes. So the summary, can you say, because, they've closed, this is Nigerian Senate, they close at 5, 6, so very quickly, what are the main points?
300 households. 300? Yeah,
Yes,
300
households. Yes, how many kilowatts would that be? Because the usage here is different. Can you go and explain?
용량이 몇 메가와트 정도 됩니까? That is like 1 megawatt,
No,
2
go
megawatt.
and show the senators, because it's not communicating well with them. Park? Mr. Park?
The capacity is
Go there and show.
capacity is 10 kilowatts. 10 kilowatts. It will,
Kilowatts, that is it. This is very small for 9.5.
Yes, because it's very potent. Yes, it's a very potent. It can be domesticated. It can be brought cylinders, exactly. Anything at all.
To power it.
Yes.
And then you just use water.
okay.
Yes.
These days,
What? No, it's to the property. Yes. Okay. Yes.
so Chairman, I want to emphasize
Material that has just been isolated. This material is so thin that it is transparent, but it has a tensile strength much higher than steel. It's called graphene. It's a new product that has just been isolated, and it's actually from coconut tree, right?
yeah, extracted from coconut.
Coconut tree, which we have in abundance here. We'll be exporting that to other parts of the world. So this material is what is used to build the generating plant. It has such efficiency that a generator plant that will occupy this room will just be this size.
And the most important is
It's
cheaper,
very disruptive.
much cheaper.
And so that's why you can find units that are so easy to move, supplying a whole town. Nigeria would develop very fast because the very big challenge we have here is energy. And if this something is decentralized, the grids are failing all over the world, not just in Nigeria. So countries are moving away from grid. Can you explain what percentage of the Korean people are off grid? Do you have that number? I saw it somewhere.
Great.
Of Korean energy comes from here.
10%.
30.
30%.
Yes. And what's the national, so that they can have an idea what you mean by 30? What's the whole? What capacity was this? You can go online and check
So
the energy demand for your country, the total energy.
total capacity is 130,000 megawatts.
So 30% of that.
50 million people. 50 million people
Yes.
use it.
Exactly. Just that small
130,000
country
megawatts.
for about 50 million people.
Nigeria is using 4,000 megawatts.
That's what the senator said.
Sometimes 3,000, sometimes 2,000.
Yes. So 30% of that power, that size, is from green hydrogen. So work it out. 40,000. What is our own? About 1,000 times. No, 1,000. What you have is what the percentage of Korean people that use this source of power. And with a good arrangement here, Nigeria can indigenize this very industry. And I'll make sure, that's why I'm involved. Nigeria can be the leader in the whole of Africa.
You know, there's something that you have not talked about.
Yes.
Everything that we have
In fact,
we afford it.
that's the most interesting part of it. If a new technology does not reduce cost and human suffering, there is not a new technology. So it goes without saying, this will save cost. You see, we're being ripped off because we are basing our costing on somebody else's costs. I'm sure you know what's happening with the DeepSeek and AI. You see what is happening? What Americans told us that developing with $500 billion, and so they will pass on the cost to the world. The Chinese developed it for $6 million. I hope you people have been following the point. So we've been ripped off for long. So who gave you the cost of energy? Who gave you the cost of this? Who gave you the cost of airplane? Who gave you somebody sat down in his house and said, let's charge them this. That's what the world will charge. Because everything has come from the West. And so we have a voice from the South and from the East that say, here we are. We need to partner with you. We want to work with Africans. And the good thing,
we want to know
the cost,
what is going to cost.
you see, because the cost comparison will have to depend on a lot of things. What is it? So we're going to get to that stage. But you see clearly that it must save cost. I can assure you if it doesn't save cost, it's not worth it. That's the technique of new technology. It must save cost. I'm so happy talking about this very project because it's something that changes the existing understanding and that things can be different. And we are going to be the custodian Nigerian people get a comparison between what exists and what this will be. And so you can see clearly
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and also remember will you now be called the local organizing committee chairman? LOC of TUG. Yeah, TU group. Then of course BK Energy. I would also want to thank my colleagues. Usually we don't show up on Mondays, but we had to. Once I spoke with you, I needed them to also hear from you. We will expect that we will get the document and be able to see for ourselves, and then of course any follow-up document. And in whichever way we can give our support, you can be sure. Because what we want is actually enough power for Nigeria. We know what we are going through as a country, not having steady, reliable, and cheap power. Because right now, it's not cheap for the average person. It's very, very expensive. And if you don't have power and you have to use either diesel or PMS, it even goes far much higher. So I want to thank you for coming and wish you well as you leave Nigeria to Ethiopia. Yeah, but then when you check the population of Nigeria and the population of Ethiopia, you know that there is more business here than anywhere else in Africa. Because we have the population, we also have the, and then we need this. It's a question of demand and supply. Now that we don't have enough supply, anything that can give us the supply of power that we need, we'll be very glad to have it. Thank you. And okay, after him,
Okay.
no, of course, why not? This also, we will make sure that every member of the committee
Yes.
will get it. All right.
Can you
You want to go?
She's one of this for Can you come to the front? You're the stand.
Yes.
You done?
Yes, yes, sir.